And here is the Artist's Almanac for January 28th, 2018. It's the birthday of Cuban poet, revolutionary philosopher, and political theorist José Marti, born in Havana, Spanish Cuba in 1853. Often called the apostle of the Cuban Revolution, José Marti showed a talent for writing and revolutionary politics at an early age. He was passionate about the growing revolutionary efforts to liberate Cuba from Spain, known as the 10 Years' War, and soon devoted his skills as a writer to advance the cause. To that end, in 1869, Marti created the newspaper La Patria Libre, in which he published several significant poems, including the dramatic Abdallah, in which he described the liberation of an imaginary country. In 1881, Marti would publish his last major work, a collection of poetry entitled Versos Sencillos, or Simple Verses. Pruned and assembled from the various poems were the lyrics for what became the folk song, Guantanamera, which was and still is the most popular patriotic song of Cuba and subsequently popularized in the U.S. in the 1960s during the American folk music revival. The song begins, "I'm a truthful man, from the land of the palm. Before dying, I want to share these poems of my soul." Marti was shot and killed by Spanish troops on May 19, 1895, in the Battle of Dos Rios. It's also the birthday of American abstract expressionist Jackson Pollock, born on this day in 1912 in Cody, Wyoming. Pollock was introduced to the use of liquid paint in 1936 at an experimental workshop in New York City by the Mexican muralist David Alfaro Cisquieros, and later used paint pouring as one of his techniques in the early 1940s, finally painting with his canvases laid out on the floor, developing what would later be called his drip technique, for which he would be famously known. From 1938 to 1942, Pollock would undergo Jungian psychotherapy with Dr. Joseph Henderson in an attempt to gain control over his already established alcoholism. Henderson engaged him through his art, where Jungian concepts and archetypes were manifested in paintings Pollock described as motion-made, visible memories arrested in space. In July of 1943, he signed a gallery contract with Peggy Guggenheim and received a commission to create a piece for the entry to her new townhouse. The piece, entitled simply Mural, measures roughly 8 feet tall by 20 feet long. Upon seeing it, art critic Clement Greenberg wrote, "I took one look at it and I thought, now that's great art. And I knew Jackson was the greatest painter this country had produced." 6 years later, Jackson rocketed to fame following an August 8, 1949 4-page spread in Life magazine that asked, "Is he the greatest living painter in the United States?" In a famous 1952 Art News article, critic Harold Rosenberg coined the term action painting and wrote that what was to go on the canvas was not a picture, but an event. The big moment came when it was decided to paint just to paint. The gesture on the canvas was a gesture of liberation from value, political, aesthetic, and moral. In response to the pressures of his extraordinary success, Pollock's alcoholism deepened, and on August 11, 1956, at 10:15 p.m., Jackson Pollock died after hitting a tree in his Oldsmobile convertible while driving under the influence of alcohol. He was 44 years old. Thanks for listening. Be kind, do good work, and until next time.